Captain Jack Reynolds was having one of those days where the universe seemed determined to test his patience. As Earth's diplomatic liaison to the Galactic Confederation, he developed a reputation for getting results through what his superiors called creative interpretation of protocol. Today, he stood on the observation deck of the GCS Harmony, watching the stars and nursing a cup of synthetic coffee that tasted like recycled engine lubricant. Captain Reynolds, the ship's AI, announced with irritating cheer, "You have an incoming transmission from Admiral Chen." "Fantastic," Jack muttered. "Just what I needed to complete this perfect day." He straightened his rumpled uniform and activated the comm screen. "Admiral Chen, what a pleasant surprise." The Admiral's face appeared, notably lacking its usual stern disapproval. Instead, she looked unsettled. "Reynolds, where are you right now?" "Sector 7, heading back from the Regelian peace talks." "Why?" "Change course immediately to Earth. Full emergency protocols." Jack blinked. "AM, with all due respect, I'm supposed to be at the Proxima trade negotiations in." "Proxima colony is gone, Reynolds." The words hung in the air like physical objects. "What do you mean, gone?" "The Voraxian Empire launched a surprise attack 6 hours ago. They used something we've never seen before. Some kind of matter dissolution field. The entire colony, 30,000 people, just gone." Jack's coffee mug slipped from his fingers, shattering on the deck. "That's not possible. The Voraxians signed the non-aggression pact last year. They're part of the Confederation now. Apparently, they've decided membership isn't in their interest anymore." Chen's voice was cold. "This wasn't a military target, Reynolds. It was a civilian research colony. Scientists, families, children." "Genocide," Jack whispered. "Yes, and it gets worse. We've detected Voraxian fleets mobilizing near 3 other human colonies." Jack felt something shift inside him, something primal. "Why me, Admiral? I'm a diplomat, not a military strategist." "Because," Chen said, "the Council is convening, and you understand the Voraxians better than anyone. You've spent more time negotiating with them than our entire diplomatic corps combined." "I'll be there in 12 hours. "Make it 10. Earth just entered a state of war for the first time in a century." The Admiral's face darkened. "And Reynolds? The gloves are coming off for this one." The transmission ended, leaving Jack alone with the stars. The same stars that, until today, had represented humanity's greatest adventure. Now they looked cold, threatening. And somewhere out there, the Voraxians were celebrating what they thought was a strategic masterstroke. "They have no idea what they've just done," Jack whispered to the empty room. The Earth Defense Council chamber hadn't been used for an actual defense meeting in nearly 50 years. Usually it hosted diplomatic receptions and cultural exchanges. Today it buzzed with grim determination as military and political leaders filed in. Jack slipped into his seat just as Admiral Victoria Stone took the podium. Stone was a legend, the last military commander to have actually fought in a conflict. Now in her 70s, she moved with the precise efficiency of someone half her age. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began without preamble, "as of 0600 hours this morning, humanity is facing an extinction-level threat. The Voraxian Empire has revealed itself to be not a partner in peace, but an existential danger." Holographic displays activated, showing the devastation at Proxima Colony, or rather, the absence of devastation. Just empty space where a thriving community had once existed. "Their weapon appears to break down matter at the molecular level," Stone continued. "No debris, no radiation signature, just nothing." Ambassador Thomas Nguyen raised his hand. Jack knew Nguyen well, a dedicated pacifist who believed diplomacy could solve any conflict. "Admiral," Nguyen said, his voice measured but strained, Have we attempted communication? Perhaps this was a terrible accident or a rogue military faction. Stone's expression could have frozen hydrogen. Ambassador, we received this message immediately after the attack. The holographic display changed to show a Voraxian commander, his scaled face arranged in what passed for a smile in their species. People of Earth, the alien said, your expansion ends today. The galaxy has tolerated your primitive species long enough. Consider Proxima a demonstration of our resolve. Surrender your colonies and confine yourselves to your home system, or we will continue until humanity is nothing but a historical footnote. The room fell silent. Jack watched as Nguyen's face transitioned from shock to a grimness he'd never seen in the man before. Well, Nguyen said quietly, I believe that answers my question. General Marcus Hughes cleared his throat. Hughes was the strategic mastermind behind Earth's defense systems, a man who played 17 simultaneous chess games for relaxation and won them all. The Voraxians have made a critical error, Hughes said, his deep voice resonating through the chamber. They've studied our technology, our official military doctrine, even our public behavior. But they've failed to study our history. He stood, moving to the center of the room. Throughout human history, we've demonstrated an unfortunate pattern. When pushed to the brink, when faced with genocide, humanity becomes something else. We transform from a civilization bound by rules into a species focused on one thing, survival at any cost. What exactly are you proposing, General? The Prime Minister asked. I'm proposing that we show the Voraxians why, throughout the galaxy, only predatory species evolved to develop space travel. And humans? He smiled darkly. We were the apex predators of Earth. Jack found himself nodding. The Voraxians respect only strength. They see our diplomatic efforts as weakness, our adherence to Galactic Confederation protocols as a vulnerability to exploit. So what? Ambassador Nguyen challenged. We abandon everything we stand for, become monsters ourselves. Admiral Stone stepped forward. No, Ambassador. We become what we've always been when threatened, survivors. The Prime Minister's face was grave as she surveyed the room. All those in favor of authorizing unrestricted military response? Hands rose across the chamber, even Nguyen's, though it trembled slightly. Captain Reynolds, the Prime Minister said, turning to Jack, you'll be our point person on this operation. You know the Voraxians, and you have the flexibility we need. Jack nodded slowly. What are my parameters? General Hughes answered, Victory, Captain. By any means necessary. And the Galactic Confederation laws? Admiral Stone's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. Now we stop being civilized. Jack felt a grim smile form. Yes, ma'am. When do I start? You already have, she replied. Your team is waiting. The hangar bay of the EDS Vengeance hummed with activity as Jack surveyed the small team assembled before him. Not a traditional military unit, something far more dangerous. Let me get this straight, Penny Rodriguez said, her fingers dancing over a holographic interface only she could see thanks to her neural implants. You pulled me out of the most sophisticated cybersecurity lab in the solar system to go poke a hornet's nest of genocidal aliens? That's about right, Glitch, Jack confirmed, using her hacker handle. Penny known throughout the digital underground as Glitch rolled her eyes but couldn't hide her excitement. At 25, she was the youngest person ever to hack the Martian defense grid. For fun. And I suppose my presence means we're not knocking politely, rumbled Derek Winters from the corner where he was methodically checking an array of weapons that definitely weren't standard issue. Ghost, Jack acknowledged with a nod. That's exactly why you're here. Derek Ghost Winters had officially retired from Earth's Black Ops Division 5 years ago. Unofficially, he'd been doing the jobs too dirty for anyone to acknowledge. He was the kind of man who could walk into a room of 50 people and leave without anyone remembering he was there unless he didn't want you to remember. And what about that? Glitch pointed to the far side of the hangar, where a tall, blue-skinned figure stood uncomfortably among humans rushing about. That, Jack said, is our advantage. He walked over to the alien, who towered nearly 7 feet tall. Kravek, thanks for coming. The Thanarian scientist shifted nervously. I did not have much choice, Captain Reynolds. Your Admiral Stone made it clear that my research visa could be reconsidered. Jack had the decency to look embarrassed. Sorry about that. Desperate times. The Voraxians are monsters, Kravek said simply. What they did violates every principle of galactic law. If my knowledge of their technology can help, then I will assist. Though I am no warrior. No one's asking you to fight, Jack assured him. Just help us get where we need to go. The ship's intercom crackled. Captain Reynolds, we're approaching the Voraxian outpost. Stealth systems engaged. Jack gathered his team. Here's the plan. This outpost controls communication for an entire sector of Voraxian space. We go in, Glitch hacks their systems to feed us intel, and we get out. No engagement unless absolutely necessary. Ghost checked his weapon, and if it becomes necessary? Jack's expression hardened. Then we show them why humans are the monsters parents from every species warn their children about. The insertion went smoother than expected. Kravek's knowledge of Voraxian security protocols allowed Glitch to bypass the outpost's external sensors. Ghost moved ahead, a shadow among shadows neutralizing the minimal security with tranquilizers. This is too easy, Glitch muttered as they reached the central computer core. Where is everyone? Most Voraxians would be in hibernation cycle now, Kravek explained. They operate on a different circadian rhythm. Lucky us, Jack said. Glitch, do your thing. Penny connected her neural interface to the alien system, her eyes rolling back as code flowed directly into her consciousness. Oh, this is beautiful, she whispered. Primitive in some ways, elegant in others. I'm in. What do you see? Jack asked. Her face suddenly drained of color. Captain, they're planning more attacks. 3 more colonies in the next 12 hours. And oh God. What? Earth. They're targeting Earth directly in 36 hours. Jack's blood ran cold. Can you disrupt the communications? Delay the orders? A slow, vicious smile spread across Glitch's face. Oh, I can do better than that. I can reverse the target coordinates on their weapon systems. Do it, Jack ordered without hesitation. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. We've been made, Ghost called from his position at the door, weapon raised. Almost done, Glitch said, fingers flying through the holographic interface. Just need another minute. Kravek, with me, Jack pulled the reluctant alien scientist behind cover as Voraxian security forces began pouring into the corridor. Ghost fired with methodical precision, each shot finding its mark. We're about to have company from both sides, Captain. Done. Glitch shouted triumphantly, disconnecting from the system. Their own outposts are now their targets. Poetic justice in 3, 2, 1. The facility shuddered as distant explosions rocked the Voraxian fleet in orbit. On the monitors, they watched Voraxian ships firing on their own vessels, confusion reigning as communication systems carried contradictory orders. Time to leave, Jack announced, leading his team toward the extraction point. As they fought their way out, a Voraxian commander confronted them, his reptilian features contorted with rage. Humans, you primitive savages, how dare you? Jack stepped forward. That's the thing about us primitive savages. We're unpredictable. The team escaped just as the outpost began to tear itself apart from within, Glitch's virus spreading through their systems like wildfire. From the safety of the Vengeance, they watched the Voraxian fleet descend into chaos, firing upon itself in the confusion. Send the recording to Earth, Jack ordered, and to every species in the Confederation. Let them see what happens when you corner humanity. On the command ship of the retreating Voraxian fleet, Supreme Commander Draknar watched in disbelief as his forces scattered in disarray. Impossible, he hissed. How could mere humans, do this? His subordinate trembled as he delivered the news. Supreme Commander, the weapon, they turned it against us. 3 of our own worlds have been affected. Draknar's eyes narrowed to slits. A lucky strike. Nothing more. Gather the Grand Fleet. We will crush these insects once and for all. Supreme Commander Draknar stood before the Voraxian High Council, his posture rigid with controlled fury. The chamber, carved from a single massive asteroid, echoed with murmurs of concern. This human response was unexpected, Draknar admitted, but ultimately meaningless. A primitive species using tricks and deception rather than facing us honorably. Yet they destroyed 4 of our outposts and disabled 2 battlecruisers, an elder counselor observed. Draknar's tail lashed in irritation. It's a temporary setback. Our intelligence indicates their main fleet is gathering at Tau Ceti. I have dispatched our 3rd and 4th battalions to engage them there. By tomorrow, the human military will be crippled. And their homeworld will follow shortly after, Draknar promised. The dissolution weapon is being recalibrated for a planet of Earth's size. Once their military is broken, they will watch as we erase their colonies one by one until they submit or until none remain. Meanwhile, aboard the EDS Vengeance, Jack and his team watched in horror as reports came in from Tau Ceti. It's a massacre, Admiral Stone's hologram reported grimly. We've lost 38 ships. The Voraxians deployed some kind of quantum disruption field that rendered our shields useless. Jack slammed his fist on the table. We need to regroup, find another approach. There is no time, Stone replied. Intelligence suggests Earth is their next target. All remaining ships are being recalled for a last-stand defense. The transmission ended, leaving a heavy silence in the briefing room. So we're trapped behind enemy lines with no backup, Glitch summarized. Fantastic. Ghost methodically cleaned his weapon, seemingly untroubled. Wouldn't be the first time. But it might be the last, Jack said quietly. He turned to Kravek, who had been silent throughout the briefing. You've been awfully quiet. The alien scientist shifted uncomfortably. I may have information that could help. Everyone's attention snapped to the blue-skinned alien. Before I was recruited for this mission, my research team was studying Voraxian biology. We discovered something unusual. Go on, Jack prompted. The Voraxians evolved on a world with very specific environmental conditions. Their nervous system is extraordinarily sensitive to certain frequencies of electromagnetic radiation. In sufficient concentrations, it can cause their neural pathways to temporarily shut down. You're saying we can stun them? All of them? Jack asked, incredulous. Theoretically, but it would require a massive power source and direct access to their communication network to transmit the signal through their own systems. Glitch leaned forward, eyes bright with possibility. Their central command ship would have both. Which is suicide to approach, Jack pointed out. They'll have tripled security after our last stunt. Ghost finally looked up from his weapon. Not if they don't see us coming. What are you thinking? Jack asked. The Voraxians are so convinced of their technological superiority that they don't bother scanning for primitive threats, Ghost explained. Like mechanical devices without energy signatures. A slow smile spread across Jack's face. Old school. I like it. There is another matter, Kravek added hesitantly. The Voraxians, they are not united in this genocide. Many were told they were responding to human aggression. Their leadership has been feeding them propaganda for years. How do you know this? Jack demanded. Because Kravek's voice dropped to a whisper. I have family living among them, dissidents who fled when Draknar took power. They've been sending encrypted messages warning of his plans. Jack stood up, decision made. New plan. We infiltrate the Voraxian command ship, broadcast the truth to their fleet, and hit them with Kravek's neural disruptor. That's not a plan, Glitch protested. That's a suicide note. You got something better? Jack challenged. No one did. As they prepared for the mission, Jack received one final transmission from Earth. General Hughes' hologram appeared, looking grimmer than ever. Reynolds, our last line of defense, is in position. If your mission fails, we've prepared a contingency, something the Voraxians won't expect. What kind of contingency? Jack asked. Hughes smiled thinly. Let's just say we're taking inspiration from our more primitive ancestors. Good luck, Captain. Earth is counting on you. The transmission ended, leaving Jack wondering exactly what desperate measures Earth was prepared to take. Aboard the Voraxian command vessel, Supreme Commander Draknar received the news of victory with cool satisfaction. The human fleet at Tau City has been neutralized, his subordinate reported. 80% of their vessels destroyed or disabled. The remainder have retreated to Earth. Excellent, Draknar hissed. Prepare the dissolution weapon. Target their lunar colonies first. Let them watch as we erase their achievements one by one before we turn to Earth itself. Yes, Supreme Commander. Weapon charging. Estimated time to deployment 2 hours. Draknar allowed himself the Voraxian equivalent of a smile. Send a transmission to their leaders. I want them to beg for mercy before the end. Meanwhile, approaching the massive Voraxian vessel, Jack's team traveled in what could generously be described as a space coffin, a mechanical craft with minimal electronics, pushed forward by compressed gas thrusters. No energy signature, no heat signature. Nothing for advanced sensors to detect. This is without a doubt the stupidest plan I've ever been part of, Glitch complained, wedged uncomfortably between equipment cases. Shaish, Ghost admonished from his position at the manual controls. We're approaching the waste disposal hatch. Jack checked his archaic mechanical watch. Perfect timing. Their automated waste dump should happen in 30 seconds. Kravek looked distinctly uncomfortable. You realize we will be covered in. Yes, Jack cut him off. I realize. Small price to pay for saving Earth. The small craft shuddered as the Voraxian ship's waste disposal hatch opened, creating a momentary opening in their defense screens. Ghost expertly maneuvered their vessel through the gap before it closed. I can't believe that worked, Glitch muttered as they docked inside the massive waste processing chamber. Don't celebrate yet, Jack warned, checking his primitive projectile weapon, another technology so outdated the Voraxians wouldn't scan for it. We still need to reach the command center. They moved through the ship's maintenance tunnels, guided by schematics Kravek had provided. Twice they had to hide as Voraxian patrols passed, the aliens completely unaware of the intruders in their midst. Their arrogance is our advantage, Ghost observed quietly. They can't imagine being infiltrated using technologies they consider obsolete. Finally, they reached the central communication hub, a massive chamber filled with Voraxian technicians. "How do we get past them?" Glitch whispered. Jack nodded to Ghost, who removed a small glass vial from his pack. "Cover your noses," he warned before throwing the vial into the room. The vial shattered, releasing a noxious gas that sent the Voraxians into immediate convulsions. "Concentrated methane," Ghost explained as they rushed in wearing simple breathing filters. "Their respiratory systems can't handle it. They'll be unconscious for about 10 minutes. "Glitch, get to work," Jack ordered. "Kravek, help her set up the neural disruptor." As they worked, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. "What's happening?" Jack demanded. Glitch's fingers flew over the alien console. "The Earth fleet, they're attacking. But that's suicide. They don't have the firepower to take on this armada." Tactical displays showed the remaining Earth vessels charging directly at the Voraxian fleet in what appeared to be a desperate last stand. "That doesn't make sense," Jack muttered. "Hughes isn't stupid. He wouldn't throw away ships like that unless—" His eyes widened in realization. "Unless it's a distraction," he finished. Glitch scanned for anomalies. Anything unusual approaching the Voraxian fleet. She complied, then gasped. "Captain, there are thousands of small objects accelerating toward the Voraxian ships, too small to trigger their defensive systems." Kravek studied the readings. "Those are primitive missiles, but they have no guidance systems, no energy signatures." Jack laughed suddenly. "Kinetic bombardment. Hughes, you brilliant bastard." "What?" Glitch asked. "The oldest weapon in the book. Heavy objects moving very fast. No technology to counter, no energy to detect. Just good old-fashioned physics." Jack watched in awe as the first wave of projectiles began tearing through Voraxian ships. They never expected us to use something so prehistoric. As chaos erupted across the Voraxian fleet, Jack turned his attention back to their mission. "Glitch, are you in?" "Just about there. I've got control of their communication systems. And I found something else, records proving Drac Nar orchestrated false flag attacks against his own people to justify the war." "Perfect. Broadcast it fleet-wide. Kravek, is the disruptor ready?" The alien scientist made a final adjustment to the device he'd assembled. "Yes, but Captain, this will affect every Voraxian connected to their network. Millions will be temporarily paralyzed." "Better than dead," Jack said grimly. "Do it." With a nod, Kravek activated the device. Immediately, the Voraxians in the communication hub began to convulse before falling completely still, paralyzed but conscious. Throughout the ship, throughout the fleet, the same scene played out as the neural disruptor signal cascaded through their communication network. At the same time, Glitch broadcast the evidence of Drac Nar's deception to every Voraxian vessel. Jack keyed his communicator. "Earth Fleet, this is Captain Reynolds. The Voraxian command structure is down. I repeat, their command is neutralized. Ceasefire and prepare boarding parties." As he signed off, the door to the communication hub slid open. Supreme Commander Drac Nar stood there, his massive frame trembling with the effort to resist the neural disruptor. "You primitives," he spat, fighting through the paralysis. "How?" Jack approached him calmly. "That's the thing about humanity, Commander. We're adaptable. When pushed, we don't just use our best technology, we use everything in our arsenal, from the most advanced to the most primitive. Whatever works." He gestured to the tactical displays showing the Voraxian fleet in disarray, their ships either disabled or surrendering as the truth spread among their ranks. "Your own people know the truth now," Jack said. "It's over." Drac Nar lunged forward with a roar, fighting through the neural disruption through sheer will. Jack sidestepped, drew his antique pistol, and fired a single shot into the commander's leg. Draknar collapsed, more shocked than injured. Primitive, Jack agreed, looking at the smoking gun, but effective. 1 month later, Jack stood before the newly formed Galactic Tribunal, watching as Draknar and his conspirators were led in chains to face judgment for genocide. Representatives from every spacefaring species had gathered to witness the proceedings. The Voraxian Empire, now under reformist leadership, had agreed to massive reparations and disarmament. Captain Reynolds, the tribunal chairperson, addressed him. Your actions, while unorthodox, saved countless lives and prevented what could have been an interstellar war of extinction. The Confederation owes you a debt of gratitude. Jack nodded uncomfortably. Just doing my job, chairperson. Nevertheless, your service will be noted in the archives. You are dismissed. Later that evening, Jack found himself in a quiet corner of the Harmony Station's observation lounge with his team. Glitch was already tinkering with some new gadget. Ghost sat silently sipping a dark liquid, and Kravek seemed fascinated by the concept of human alcohol. To unlikely victories, Jack proposed, raising his glass. And to primitive solutions, Glitch added with a grin. They drank in comfortable silence, watching stars that once again represented possibility rather than threat. What happens now? Kravek finally asked. Your species has revealed capabilities that frighten many in the Confederation. Some are calling humans unpredictable savages in private. Jack smiled. Let them. Perhaps a healthy fear will prevent the next would-be conqueror from targeting Earth. Admiral Stone wants to keep our team together, Ghost mentioned casually. Special response unit for interstellar threats. Thinking of accepting? Jack asked. Ghost shrugged. Beats retirement. I'm in, Glitch said immediately. The look on those Voraxians' faces when their superior technology got hacked by a human girl? Worth every minute. Jack turned to Kravek. What about you? Return to your research. The alien scientist considered for a moment. I think not. Working with humans has been educational. Besides, someone needs to help you integrate alien technology properly. Then it's settled. Jack raised his glass again. To the team. As they clinked glasses, Ambassador Nguyen approached their table. Captain Reynolds, he greeted formally. May I join you? Jack gestured to an empty chair. Of course, Ambassador. Nguyen sat, his expression troubled. The tribunal has completed its analysis of the Voraxian weapon. They've classified it as too dangerous to exist. All research will be destroyed. Good, Jack said firmly. Yes, well, Nguyen shifted uncomfortably. There's something else. The Council has voted to maintain our new military posture. Many of our more aggressive defensive systems will remain active. Jack raised an eyebrow. I thought we were returning to our peaceful stance now that the threat is eliminated. We are, Nguyen assured him. Officially, Earth remains committed to peaceful coexistence and diplomacy with all species. But, Jack prompted. Nguyen lowered his voice. But we've learned something valuable from this experience. Sometimes the civilized approach isn't enough. Jack smiled slowly. So we're going back to being civilized. Until it's necessary not to be, Nguyen finished with an uncharacteristic glint in his eye. Sleep well, Captain. The galaxy is watching us now. As the ambassador departed, Jack turned back to his team. He mused, swirling his drink. Humans have a saying, speak softly and carry a big stick. I like your species' approach, Kravek admitted. Peaceful until threatened. Then, he struggled to find the right word. Terrifying, Ghost supplied helpfully. To humanity, Glitch proposed, raising her glass one final time. The galaxy's friendliest nightmare. They drank to that, four unlikely heroes watching the stars, ready for whatever the universe might throw at them next, civilized or otherwise.